Formula One Philosophy is back for another episode after another spectacular race that we glimpsed this past weekend. Talking about the 2025 Japanese Grand Prix. A lot to talk about. But first, I want to do some housekeeping that we didn't do last week, and that's completely my fault. Is spaced out and totally forgot that one of our heroes, Eddie Jordan, died a couple weeks ago. At the age of 76, I believe. And, you and I have paid homage to his effect on F1 in the past and all the drivers that he touched and brought into this league over the years. Touched is the wrong phrase. What I'm trying to say is all the hand he had in all those drivers and the effect it had on F1. Like Rubens Barrichello, Eddie Irvine, Michael Schumacher, most famously, Ayrton Senna, Martin Brundle, Johnny Herbert, Giancarlo Fisichella, Jarno Trulli, Ralph Schumacher, Damon Hill, Heinz-Harald Frentzen. We all have him to thank for such great legends and his great, honest commentary. I know at times we don't always agree with what he had to say, but he always, spoke with his heart, straight shooter. And I didn't realize, how much of effect he had on my upbringing in F1 because, as I've talked about before, I was a big fan of F1 in the 90s. And I was thinking about it today and about how he was really he was the last true underdog in the sport. And it was really just grit, will, and determination that got him where he did because he didn't exactly have a great understanding about engineering, wasn't the greatest racer, as he'll admit, but he somehow formed one of the most iconic teams of all time. And really, he thinks he could have won the 1999 driver's title, and maybe he could have. But the fact that he was even in that discussion was pretty impressive considering the low budget he had. And I harp on the 2005 season being a detriment to just Ferrari or Michael Schumacher. But, the real casualty was Eddie Jordan. And he couldn't survive after those regulation changes. And Ferrari went on and thrived. Michael went on and had a fine career. And me talking about that is really just salty. Eddie Jordan could have complained about that and never did. And I just want to say, wherever you're listening, wherever you are right now, goodbye. And thank you for everything you did for Formula One. And we won't see you on the other side because you'll want nothing to do with us. So this is the closest we'll get. Sean, do you have anything you want to say about that?
No, I think that was well put, Nick. Thanks for that. I did realize after we recorded last that we hadn't mentioned it at all. F1 had a very nice, what's the word I'm looking for? Homage to Eddie Jordan at the Chinese Grand Prix, which was good, or good to see. As you know, Nick, I was in Germany last week. And I was at a technical museum. And guess what they had in the museum there?
Oh, did they have the 99? What would have been the Jordan F190 or something like that? The 1999 car?
No, they had the EJ12, the 2002.
With the Benson and Hedges?
Benson Hedges DHL, so the yellow car with the big DHL on the side, Honda powered. Can't see. I'm looking at a picture of it here, trying to see who would have driven this one.
Fisichella, and because I think he won the Brazilian Grand Prix, or he might have won that next year.
Fisichella and Takuma Sato.
Oh, so that was the year we lost Heinz-Harald Frentzen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, still.
Yeah, so beautiful car, though.
Yeah. Awesome. Lucky you. Awesome.
Yeah, it's a shame we're doing this remote and you're not here because I'd show you the pictures of all of your favorite cars that were at this museum, including Michael Schumacher's Benetton.
Oh, yeah. 95 Benetton or 94 Benetton?
Let me see if I can zoom in. No. I don't know. You're going to have to look at it and tell me.
If it has a Ford emblem, it's 94. If it's got a Renault emblem, it's 95.
It's a Renault.
There you go. Yeah.
Benetton, Renault, and Bitburger.
Just had to get a German sponsor in there somewhere. I believe, right? Or
It's
maybe,
Michael Schumacher's car. It has to.
that might be Austrian.
Bitburger? No, it's German.
That's German. Okay,
Yeah.
that's great, man. Like, I'm glad you got to see that from an undisclosed location. I'm assuming because you're a man of secrecy.
No, it's the Technical Museum in Zinsheim.
Okay, well, you're about to get doxxed.
I'm not there anymore. It's thousands of kilometers away.
Just a goddamn. Okay, all right. We love you, Eddie Jordan. That's what we wanted to say.
Yes.
All right. With that bit of housekeeping done, let's get on to the good we saw at this weekend's Japanese Grand Prix. If I may, I'll start. If you're cool with that, unless you have something you want to say.
No, you go for it.
Okay. My first good is F1 in 2025. We've been spoiled in these first three races. I was literally hanging off the edge of my seat in Australia when I watched Australia. That last couple laps between Max and Lando. We had a really technically fun race in China. And holy shit, you could not ask for more in Japan to have the top three within 3 seconds of each other for the last 18 laps. Like, how amazing.
Just play devil's advocate here, Nick. There's a lot of nonsense online about this was a shit race.
I was going to get to that.
I had to bring it up.
Unfucking believable that someone would have the audacity to say that. It started with the interview with Lando Norris. I forget the interviewer's name. I think he was part of Sky Sports. Has a scruffy, rough British accent. He was saying there was not much for the fans. And I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? I was pacing the room in a way I haven't paced since the 1990s. That's a race I don't even think Michael Schumacher could have done. Because Michael's secret was his ability to win on strategy and to do a certain amount of laps. But he always was in the worst car for the most part in the 90s. So he would never be able to hold off his rival for 15 laps going at an extreme pace. Max held off 2 and had to be perfect within 100th of a second for 18 fucking laps. It was mind-blowing to watch. And if this is what we're going to be shown the rest of this season, F1 2025 might be the best of all time. But yeah, that's my first good. Like, wow. To anyone complaining, shut up. Go watch an old race in the 90s. You'll get a lot of back and forth. You'll get a lot of fun, but you will never get something like this. Anyways, what do you have to think about that?
No, I just brought that up because I knew you'd go off on it, and I agree, and we've talked about it before, where people find races like this boring because they don't actually enjoy racing. They want the drama of something happening, which isn't really what racing is for. Like, if you need weather or you need crashes, you need whatever to spice it up, then it's not really your sport, is it? What you saw and what I saw was a very well-run technical race. And those are exciting for the purpose of racing. Like you said, Max, in what is a subpar car, managed to keep the 2 best cars on the grid off of them for 15 laps, whatever it was.
I think...
Yeah,
go on.
While having the pressure from Oscar Piastri, who, in theory, had the pace to overtake both of them.
I got more on that later, unless you want to elaborate now.
No. We'll save it for later.
Yeah. Yeah, if you want to watch crashes, if you want the Instagram memes, if you want the driver sackings, if you want the Drive to Survive nonsense, you know, there's a Netflix show for that, and if you just want to watch specific crashes, just go fucking watch NASCAR. But if you want to see the pinnacle of racing and drivers having to be perfect in every lap mattering, every corner mattering, I can only imagine you must have watched the onboards to one of those 3. And the amount of work they were doing every single second for what felt like an hour. It's probably only like 35 minutes. But even that level of concentration and perfection, Max was the best at it, but like kudos to Lando and Oscar for keeping up.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, like that's like what an amazing race. And yeah, we didn't even need weather. It was supposed to rain, but it was just perfect nonetheless. And I'm excited. I'm now like it's on. The title fight is on. It's clear. We got potentially 3 drivers. I think preseason you speculated it might be Charles, Lando, Oscar, or Lewis, but it looks like Max is going to be there, and it looks like we got our 3 contenders.
Yeah, we have our 3 contenders. If we're looking at it realistically, it's 4, because Max and Lando are 1 point apart at 62 and 61. And then Piastri and Russell are 4 points apart at 49 and 45. So there's, 15-ish points realistically between 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. So it's definitely on. There's, let's say, a clear 1 and 2 and a clear 3 and 4. But those are, they're less than a race win apart. So it's definitely going to be a good one.
Russell's going to need to step up and have a race if he really wants to be a contender. So far, he's just sort of.
Russell's been listening to the podcast.
Why do you say that?
Because he's nothing if he isn't consistent.
Yeah, but he was like that in 2022. But he just never made.
Yeah, but not as many points.
That's fair. Okay. I won't count him out as yet. I'm just saying if he really wants to be an actual contender, I think he's going to need a win. And this, we might have a 2012 on our hands, wherein he shows up in Bahrain and wins, and we have 4 different winners in the first 4 races. So I'm not going to count him out. I'm just saying he's got to come in. He's got to come into play.
Mm-hmm. Yep, absolutely.
I kind of hope that happens, to be completely honest. I kind of hope we have a different winner for the first half of the season, almost every race.
It would be fantastic, and it would support my predictions.
Yes. I think all of our predictions are still on for the most part. I'm going to give some props to Max. I do every week. There's not much to say other than only the Android could pull off something like that. That your main prediction about him being a robot is definitely coming true.
Although he did show some emotion this week, which was new.
During the race?
In qualifying when he got pole.
I don't think anybody expected that. That last sector. No, yeah. And that was pretty impressive. Well, it's been how long since he got a pole, right? So
it's been a minute, yeah.
Yeah. So to get that out of nowhere was pretty impressive. He might have found something in this car. All the work he's doing with the engineers might finally be paying off. But yeah, this is still Red Bull in 2025. They could come out pretty flat in Bahrain. It wouldn't surprise anybody.
Yeah.
So yeah, those are my first 2 goods. Do you have a good for yourself?
We'll just get this one over with. I'll put it out as Yuki. Obviously, the race didn't go quite his way, but I think the weekend in general was a pretty standout performance for him. So his first race in the senior team, the Red Bull, and practice, he showed that he was up there. Practice, him and Verstappen were routinely a couple of tenths apart, which is closer than Verstappen and Lawson had ever been. And in the lead up to the Grand Prix weekend, Yuki had done a whole bunch of work in the simulator, put in a lot of effort to try and understand how the car felt. And going into the weekend, already knew what he wanted to do setup-wise. And went out and learned that, okay, the car isn't quite the same as the simulator, but was able to adapt pretty well. And I think the only reason we saw him go out in Q2 is because he tried, he pushed, and he went slightly over the edge, and it cost him. And the onboard from his, let's say, last qualifying attempt shows exactly where he lost the time. And it was just trying to do what he needed to do and going too far. So I can't blame him for that. That was not a poor performance. That was a great performance that didn't go his way. Um, Everybody was making a whole bunch of jokes about Lawson out qualifying him by one position, but I think the performance in the race was clear. Yuki was able to move up a few places, didn't have the best strategy, better than what he would have had at Racing Bulls, but we'll leave that on the side. Um, and overall, I think ran a strong race. Didn't seem to be uncomfortable in the car, didn't seem to be having any real issues. He showed a lot of maturity this week, and I think he belongs there, at least more so than Lawson did.
Yeah, I had him on my good too. It just to add to everything you said, it looks like it's coming. Like it's coming. The good result is coming. You talked about it perfectly last week about this very small operating window. And it seems like you said he just went outside that window at the wrong time. But he's definitely looks more comfortable in the car. Got out of Q1. So definitely a step in the right direction. And had better race pace, for sure. Probably could have used them on an opposing strategy to Verstappen's, like you said. Like you said, that they needed a better strategy for him or got unlucky with the strategy. Probably could have offsetted Verstappen's strategy. Might have worked for him. But
Yeah.
I definitely see positives from his performance too. They made the right call, which should have been the call they made 4 months ago. But whatever, we've talked about that a million times.
Exactly. And I forget who it was that was on the F1 TV broadcast during practice, but it was someone from the Red Bull team who was saying that, Yuki came in and, like I mentioned, he put in a lot of work in the simulator, knowing where he wanted to go with the car. And, we've heard before that Max likes the car very pointy, and the comparison has been made to, like going into your computer settings and dialing the mouse sensitivity up to max. That's how Max likes to have his car, which makes for a very narrow operating window. You have to know what you're doing and be very precise with what you're doing. And the person that was on the broadcast was saying that Yuki came in and almost immediately knew what he needed to do to widen that window.
Wow.
To basically make it more comfortable for him to drive. And frankly, he's got experience, right? He's not a rookie driver by any means. He's got more experience than most of the people that have been in that seat next to Max, bar Checo. So it makes sense that he understands it, and the fact that he knew he had to go in there and put in that work, and he didn't come out the other end looking like an arrogant prick is a good sign. So I think it's, like you said, it's going to come. Let's see what Bahrain brings. Let's give him a few more races and see. I trust he'll be back in the points in no time.
Yeah, and 2023 and 2024, the Red Bull, I think they 1-2'd Bahrain both years. So not that that's going to happen this year. This is complete, like you said, the ship of Theseus. This is a completely different Red Bull. But it could be the result Yuki wants finally. It could be the track that can bring out the best in this Red Bull, hopefully, at least for him. And it's about time. Sorry, go on.
No, Bahrain is a track that they know very well, right? We have a lot of testing there, so it makes sense that it will do well if they've learned from any of the testing they did. The only thing is that Yuki didn't drive the Red Bull in preseason testing.
Yeah, but it sounds like he's finally the second driver who's going to go in the simulator and do the work and not just wait for the engineers to do everything. And I'm not saying Checo wasn't that guy, but I think this high sensitivity speaks to, and you can correct me where I'm wrong, like the high sensitivity speaks to needing a more youthful driver, whereas someone like Checo who was aging was probably having a lot of difficulty with being so sensitive, right? Because you get less sharp as you get older. It's just a fact of life. So like you said, the experience from Checo helped, but it couldn't help with that specific thing. And based on what we gathered with Liam, it just seemed like he expected everything to be done for him. He expected, like, I'm naturally talented, I'm going to figure out this car, and didn't think he needed to do all that work. And and by what you said, the sounds of it, Yuki understood, okay, I got to get to work right away. So I think if anyone's going to figure it out, it's going to be him, right? Like a lack of testing in this Red Bull is not going to affect him as much.
No, I think you're right. And I think more so than anything is Yuki's matured a lot since he came in, and isn't he's not stupid, right? He's been there and he's seen everybody else come and go from there, and he's seen what the media pressure can do to people. So he goes in there and he knows, hey, I have to, I've been given it a shot and I have to make the best of it. And the way I'm going to do that is to work. And it looks like he's been doing it. So good on him.
Kudos, Yuki. I always wondered why he left his management team after the fact, after he didn't get the Red Bull seat. But I wonder if his management team, I wonder if there was an inside conspiracy saying in the Red Bull camp, like, Lawson's not as safe as you may think. So get your house in order, Yuki. I wonder, like, I know I'm just talking conspiracy here. If you're willing, you can comment it or not. But it seems to have lined up really perfectly for him.
Yeah, I don't know. I really don't have anything to say on that. I'm not really aware of who his management team was and who he went to, but it sounds like he may have been a little pissed off that they didn't do a good enough job for him, and then this may have just kind of landed in their lap. So
I bring that up. Sorry, go on.
No, I was just going to say we won't know until years down the road anyway, but go ahead.
Well, that's what I was going to say, for years down the road. If he succeeds here, do they keep him for 26?
Why wouldn't they?
Because he was a former Honda product that they don't associate with anymore. Like maybe they still just want a clean break from him.
Yeah, but if he's the guy that proves to have a handle on that car and can do what they need him to do, right? Because this year they need to get the Constructors' Championship back. And they need 2 drivers to do it. That's clear. So if he helps them do that, I don't see why anybody would want to go away from him. Because Yuki's not guaranteed a spot at Aston.
No.
So it's either that or off the grid at this point. And why would you ditch a driver that's helped you win the Constructors' title simply because he was tied to a former engine supplier? Now, it may end his relationship with Honda, but I don't know that he needs Honda anymore. And even Honda said that they are not helping, they're not paying Yuki's way into Red Bull.
Yeah, I think the new management team severed ties with Honda. So he is floating on his own. I wonder if, because a lot of reports were saying within the switch, like within the time frame of the switch with him and Lawson, that the only thing that Marco and Horner agreed on was that they didn't want Yuki in the car. And like, I just think they're out of options at this point, and they are reluctantly using him for this year. But I wonder if they're cold enough to drop him for next year, or stupid enough. Like you're right. You're absolutely right. If this works, don't fuck it up. But as we'll probably talk about later, that if anyone's going to fuck it up, it's these two.
Yeah. And I mean, there is an option, and it may be premature to say that, but Hajar had a really great performance this weekend. If this kid that we all kind of were second guessing really improves in that RB and outshines Liam Lawson, maybe you're right. Maybe they do ditch Yuki. Thanks for your service, Yuki. You helped us get the Constructors. Go fuck off now. We're gonna take Isaac. It would be a shitty deal for Yuki, but that is a possibility because Hajar is from their own camp, and he has some natural ability to him if he can get himself in the right window. And I think that's what that was this weekend. he had a really spot on weekend that, we'll talk about that in a bit, I guess. Um, but yeah, maybe you're right.
Spot on weekend kicking and screaming. I don't know if you saw him in qualifying. Is that part of your bad
I
discussion?
did.
Yeah. Okay. If that's another
No,
part. No, go on.
it's not part of my bad, but I did see it.
Yeah.
Do
Yeah.
we want to get into that now, or do you have more for Yuki?
No, I think you said everything I wanted to say. I was very happy with what I saw with him. Yeah, I know it wasn't the result he wanted, but yeah, it's coming. It's a shame it
Yeah.
didn't get points in Suzuka, but it happens. Yeah, talk to me about Hadjar for a bit. Oh my god.
Well, I'm gonna have Hajar as another good because this weekend was a complete turn for him. He qualified well. He raced well. That car looked like it was hooking up for him, and even in the discomfort that he was able to get through to Q3. So I'm not sure if you caught on to what the problem was, Nick. If they cover that in your broadcast.
His seatbelt.
Yeah, but specifically, what about the seatbelt?
Hugging his junk, I think, or too tightly.
Yeah, the anti-submarine belts were basically crushing his nuts.
Yeah, they didn't get into that detail.
Yeah. So Horner wasn't so political about that one in the F1 TV coverage. I don't know why this race this weekend, for whatever reason, they couldn't do up his seatbelts without crushing his testicles. So he hopped out after Q2, and I guess they readjusted. Maybe he readjusted and put him back in the car, and he did good. And the race, it didn't seem to be a problem, but you can imagine what that would feel like trying to, pull whatever it is up to 5 or 7G around some of those corners.
Oof.
Yeah.
It hurts just thinking about that.
You wouldn't be able to focus either.
Oof. That puts into context all his like emotional trauma that he was going through, like it's never gonna happen. I can't believe it keeps messing up. I have no luck. Like, yeah, now that makes sense. I now feel for him.
Yeah, the radio messages were a bit over the top, in my opinion, but you could understand the discomfort and not being able to put in a good lap because of it.
Yeah, that's a good point. So he was pretty good this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
And
his first points of the season.
Yes, and 2 straight Q3 appearances. So we're definitely going to give him that. And yeah, I was definitely one of the people who wrote him off, and I'm going to have to eat a lot of crow about some of the rookies this year, apparently. So I'll just leave it at that.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have anything else you want to add about Hadjar?
No, I think that covers it.
So yeah, speaking of, then my last good was Ollie. Another solid performance from the Bearmen.
It just kills you to say that, doesn't it?
Beyond repair, like this is a good episode, the good segment, and I feel like shit. He still looks like he has a ceiling in 10th place in this Haas, and without major collisions or reclassifications, he doesn't get any higher. But he's quick. He can qualify well, and he's young, and the car isn't necessarily that great, so I got to give it to him. And it's not just that he did well, he bested Ocon all weekend. So
yeah,
I have to shut up for now that he's at least not Nikita Mazepin, in theory.
Nope.
Still a long season. But hey, I was impressed for the first time ever. So give it that. Still think if we're going to call him a generational talent, I need to see more. But I think it's best if I just shut up about him for a little while.
As do I. So just to add to that, he was quick. It was impressive because Haas brought a brand new floor to this race. So obviously, Bahrain wasn't too bad for them preseason testing. Australia was a shit show. He managed to get some points back in China when the car looked okay. And then this week, they bring a brand new floor, which is a fundamental downforce generator for these cars, and it works for him. And like you said, he bested Ocon all weekend. Ocon, I don't think, got off the back row at all during practice, qualifying, or the race. And Behrman was just there. Magically ended up in Q3. And do you remember where he qualified? Was he 10th or 9th?
He was 10th. The Q3 was his worst because in Q1 and Q2 he was in the top 5.
Right. Yeah. Anyway, great performance and clearly has a good handle on this car. To bring such a big upgrade to the car and to just instantly be on it, especially when your experienced teammate is so far off of it. I don't know what happened there. They're both, it seems like a weird place for me to jump to, but they're both physically very similar, Ocon and Behrman, right? They're both relatively tall. So it's not what we've seen in some other cases where, the car physically might be built around one driver versus the other, and it's just awkward for the other person to drive. Like, that shouldn't be the case here. So to change something on the car and have it service the two drivers completely differently is odd, but it did really seem to bring it out of Behrman. And I don't think he's a generational talent. I would put him in the same camp that I would put Gasly in. Deserves to be on the grid, but don't expect to see magic out of him. Wow. So, to me, it was a good race, but
he was solid if unspectacular in the race, but still, like, for an 18-year-old rookie, that, like, yeah, good on you.
And Japan is not an easy track.
No.
Right? Japan is a track for true, proper drivers. And we didn't see him do anything overly messy or amateurish, let's say.
Yeah, that always seemed to be his superpower, was his just maturity and steadiness, which is what they talked about. But yeah, so in these last couple of races, we've definitely seen the best of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I got nothing else to add. Do you have any other good?
I think that's it for the goods.
Okay, so that ends the good then. We'll be back with the bad next episode.